Hi, this is Bruce Buffer, your voice of the Octagon, and you're listening to MMA Mental.
Welcome to this week's MMA Mental podcast, which is sponsored by UK Fightwear. We've got some great guests lined up for today's show. I've done some fantastic interviews this week. But before we let you know who those guests are, I just want to do, as always, give our shout-outs to our other friends in the podcasting world. We always like to shout out. We've got three podcasts that we're associated with that we love to be associated with. So first of all, we want to shout out the MMApodcast.com, which is hosted by Jake and sometimes Chris, but at the moment it's switching. Ramses is hosting with him quite a lot recently. Ramses also does his own podcast, Word on the Street, #1 podcast for the latest UFC rumours and conspiracy theories. And then we've got Beyond the Cage as well, another podcast we're pleased to be associated with, which is hosted by Jim Graham. So definitely check those three podcasts out. We also do a round table every week. We team up with Word on the Street and the MMA podcast, and we break down all the latest news and fights and what's coming up and just give our view. It's great. We've got some great hosts on that. Me and Patrick do that along with Jake and Chris. And we've also got Dave and Ramses and Jay. I don't think I've left anyone else out. So yeah, and we're always looking for new additions to that as well. We've got some of our friends joining us from the MMA Playground, hopefully in the near future. So let's let you know who we've got on this week's show. We've got once again we've got another fantastic lineup. We've got fighters from all over the world as always. First up is top UK prospect James Mulheron. He is the current heavyweight champion for Made for the Cage, which is one of the top promotions in the UK. He was a fantastic guest. Then we move over to the States and we speak to a fighter who's got a big fight coming up soon on XFC 23. We speak to Dominique Steele. He'll be fighting on the main card in April for the XFC, and then we move forward again. We speak to a Brazilian fighter this time, Danillo Villefort. He'll be fighting soon on World Series of Fighting against Kris McCray, another UFC vet. So that'll be a very good fight. He talks us through his career and what looking forward to this fight against Kris McCray, fighting for World Series of Fighting. And then we speak to another top prospect, Mike King. He's 5-0. He trains with the American top team, and he's been helping Nate Marquardt get ready for his fight coming up. But he's certainly one to look out for in the future. Then we speak to a true MMA veteran, one of the original women, one of the top women, Tara LaRosa. Fantastic guest. She's been fighting since 2002. And she's just one of the standouts for women in women's MMA. She was brilliant. It was brilliant to speak to her. And then we speak to the latest big signing. The UFC have made a signing, an Australian heavyweight. He's been working his way back to the UFC. He's been in the UFC previously, but he's now he's back. He's been on a hell of a run, and that's Soa Palelei. And we chat with him, and he talks to us quite honestly and openly about nearly giving up the sport after the disappointment of his first UFC fight. And working his way back. And as he says, the Hulk is back. Here are the interviews. We are now joined by top UK prospect heavyweight James Mulheron. How's things with you, James?
Yeah, good, excellent, yeah. Spot on.
I know you recently had a big fight for the Made for the Cage heavyweight title against Paul the Titan Taylor, who's a very, very tough guy. And obviously you had a fantastic victory. Do you want to talk us through the fight?
Yeah, it was... I knew it was going to be hard. Like, I've been watching his videos beforehand, but I knew just the way I've been trained and stuff like that, I knew I could win. Like, I felt like I would have took the fight otherwise, obviously. But basically, it was going into it. It was I knew it was going to be like a tough boxer. It was going to be a tough fight. So I thought to myself, just go out and just give it the all, and I basically just fought my fight. I just didn't think about. I did think about obviously how tough he was, but I concentrated more on my game plan than worrying about his. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. What's your game plan going into the fight? I mean, obviously we can talk about it now. I wouldn't have talked about it before the fight, obviously.
To be honest with you, I didn't really have a game plan. It was funny enough, like me and Phil were having a conversation about it, like the day after, because I had to train with Phil straight after it because he was off to America. Yeah. And what basically said, you need to start working out game plans. He went, obviously, like, now, like, Phil was saying, he doesn't go into a fight without having a game plan now. And he said, you need to start working on one. And to me, I didn't really have a proper game plan. I just, thought myself, I'm just going to go out and just fight my fight. It wasn't, anything specific. I know, people say, "Oh, you worked on his leg," but it's just what I do. Like when I throw combinations, I always throw with kicks on the end and stuff like that. But it wasn't like a specific game plan for him.
Yeah,
I would have done the same as what I'd done there against anyone else if I was fighting.
Did you feel though? Because obviously I saw the pictures, and you obviously landed some brutal leg kicks during the fight. Did you feel that those leg kicks were there for you, and the more you threw, you could feel that they were wearing him down?
Did the what? Sorry.
The more that you threw, you could feel that you were wearing him down.
You know, like during the first round, when I was hitting with him, like in training about like throwing, people say it hurt, but he was just like didn't look phased by them. And it wasn't until like I think it was like coming up at the end of the second round, I caught him with a big one, like a big leg kick. I dropped him, and it wasn't until then I didn't realise like he was his up until that last leg kick I hit him with.
Yeah,
and that's like what made him like. I think I've never seen the fight properly, but people say I caught him with that leg kick that made him like go down. It wasn't until that point when I started like hitting him with ground and pound with elbows. Like I thought, oh, he's hurt here. That was until that point the fight, like the very end of the second round. I didn't realise he was getting chopped down. I wasn't thinking about, oh, I'm weighing him down here. It wasn't until that last point when I kicked him. I thought he was on his back and I was hitting him with the elbows. I thought, oh, he's hurt here. Try and go for it, keep going for it. And to be honest with you, I thought the ref was going to stop it again in a second, because when I was hitting him with like elbows, I could see like he didn't, like, you know, when someone's like it looked a bit dazed-ish.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the referee just to see, are you going to stop this? But like obviously you'd never do this. You should never do it. Just fight until the referee tells you to stop. But I think he was going to stop it then. But yeah, credit him, like Paul, he didn't stop. Like, he didn't give up. And when he went back his corner, and then obviously the corner guys like said, "Oh, you cannot continue."
Yeah, it just shows how tough he is, because I know you put quite a lot of pressure on him with your leg kicks and with the elbows. So what happens with your next then? Have you got another fight lined up?
I have, yeah. I'm fighting for. It's basically a guy called Darren Towler. He's from like the northeast as well.
Yeah.
And he's got the European title for Made for the Cage.
Yeah.
So basically, we're going to unify like all belts. Like my British one goes on the line with his European one. So we're just going to unify the belts, and that's on the 25th of May. So
that's coming up quite soon. Are you excited to get back in there so quick after such a big win?
Yeah, I am. I just want to fight all the time now. Just say like I'm basically doing this like a job now, and I love it. It's just I think that once I've got my mindset on a fight, I like it. If I haven't got my mind set on for a fight, I kind of like I don't know what to do with myself. I feel like lost.
Yeah.
So I like to have myself set at like I like to get like a fight as soon as possible sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great as well having a promotion like Made for the Cage that's quite local to you, because obviously it's one of the biggest promotions in the UK, and they're really doing big things at the minute as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're great. Like, Dale and Scotty, they've got a brilliant setup there. They try and run it as professional as possible, and they compare to like other shows. I mean, it's like they cut above the rest. I would, to be honest, it's like, well, I've only fought on like I think that's probably the second show I've fought on. I've been lucky that it's been such a good show to actually like find pick up on and like fight for them. I've been lucky really. It's been the northeast.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Phil there. For those that don't know, obviously your training partner or one of your training partners is the UFC heavyweight Phil de Vries, who I think is ranked number 1 in the UK and is obviously doing well in the UFC. He's got a big fight coming up soon in Sweden. Do you know what's it like training with Phil on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's great. It gives you so much confidence because his grappling and his jiu-jitsu levels are like ridiculous. People don't realise how tough a guy is. Like we're training with him like day in, day out, and I mean it's not half-hearted like just normal sparring. It's like we'll go in together, but it's great because we're like really good friends as well. So we can go in, we can try and bash each other to pieces. Then we're just like at the end we just talk and have a laugh afterwards. But for the training where he's given has been like I wouldn't like be like where I am doing my fighting if it wasn't for him. He's like helped us all the way through, even from the start of like the semi-pro career. Really, it was only my second semi-pro fight. I started training with him, and then ever since it's just been like training with him every day, being partners together, and And recently I went over to America for his fight with Todd Duffy.
Yeah.
I went over and done his last 3 weeks in his camp with him. That was brilliant, a really good experience, and it's a good time I had over there.
Who were some of the people you got to train with in America?
I trained with Phil Davies most days, drilling, boxing with him, wrestling with him. Because Phil, when he had the fight, doing Pacific stuff with him. So I did train with Phil Davies, obviously, but I was mostly training with like Phil Davies and Joey Beltran, and a few others, obviously, as well, who's ever actually like overanalyzed all of them, really. Like the lightweight and stuff. It was excellent. It was a really good experience.
Gonna say, it must be. You can learn so much from training with those, those kind of top level guys. It must have been amazing to get over there and get in and train with some of these people.
Oh, it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity. That's a same. I feel like he gives us that opportunity for us to go and do it. Like to take us over, like his cornerman, and have the experience to do it is absolutely brilliant. Brilliant.
I know you've got again from speaking to Phil, you've got a very solid camp where you train as well. Do you want to let people know some of the people that train at your camp as well?
Yeah, well, at the Fight Pit,
yeah,
it's, up in Shiny Row, it's brilliant. It's the same as Sixth Sense as well. We've got like Kurt Warburton's there, Colin Fletcher, who's fighting obviously next week in the UFC.
Yeah.
Ryan Scopes there, Daz Warner, Luke Harriman, and Chris. Loads of people I mentioned. That's only just a few of them. But I'd say like some of the greatest training there. You go anywhere in the northeast, and I think you struggle to find a new place better to like train with them guys there, really. And it's the same as Sixth Sense. Where like other days when we'll meet up, we'll go to Sixth Sense as well. That's like Alexander's gym.
Yeah.
And we'll go there on the Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, and it's the same kind of training there. Like the same guys who go to the Fight Pit will meet up there and train as well. It's good. It's good training.
I know you're undefeated as a pro. Are you undefeated as an amateur as well?
Yeah, like semi-pros undefeated. I was like 6-0 semi, and then 2-0 pro. I am.
It's fair to say you've got one hell of a career ahead of you. I mean, obviously you're already training with some of the biggest names, not just in the UK, but beyond the UK as well. And obviously you've already beaten one of the more established heavyweights in the UK. Obviously within Paul the Titan Taylor, who's made waves himself in UCMMA. So obviously I know you've got a fight coming up in May. Hopefully we might get a chance to speak to you just before the fight and have a chat about that fight close to the time. But we really appreciate you coming on and having a chat today, and we look forward to seeing where you go from here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Before we let you go, do you want to do any shout out any sponsors or any friends or family?
Yeah, just say like all my friends, my girlfriend, my dad for helping us train as well. All the guys at the Fight Pit, all the guys at Sixth Sense. Big shout out to my sponsors, because I wouldn't be able to do it without them. They've helped us all the way through it. I've got MAM, refrigeration guy. He's helped us pay for me rent and stuff like that. Got Richmond Taxis helping us pay for stuff as well. I've got a Mamatage Indian restaurant, Long Ocean Road, Be Supreme. I've got my strength and conditioning coach. He's doing everything for us at the minute, helping us massively. Elite Underground. If you check that out, you see it on my Facebook. The rooftop bar where I work, they've been a massive help to us as well. And Combat Soap, he's helped us. And I think that's about it. I missed anyone off. I'm sorry if I missed anyone off.
Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Absolute pleasure.
Okay, we're now joined by Dominique Steele. Dominic will be fighting at XFC 23 against Julio Gallegos. How's things with you, Dominic?
I have no idea what the hell you just said. I'm out of it right now. What did you say?
Just wondering how things are with you in the preparation for your up-and-coming fight in April.
Oh, I feel pretty fucking prepared. I feel like I can basically kill planet right now. So, just working on my boxing, my stand-up, and working on my wrestling game.
Is that what you're going to be working on? You're going to be looking to keep the fight standing and get the knockout?
I'm not a huge fan of knockouts. I like to open people up, basically leaving my calling card or leaving my John Hancock on them. I don't prefer knockouts; they're boring.
How excited are you at the prospect of fighting at XFC 23 on another televised card?
I'm actually very excited to fight in the XFC. I've been on big stages before, so this isn't as big as the stage I've been on, but I mean this is still a pretty good stage, and I'm excited to show perform for the people and give people a show.
I know you talk about the big stages. Obviously, I know you fought at Bellator and you fought against Brian Rogers, and you went 3 rounds with Brian Rogers, and you lost the fight, but you showed a lot of heart in that fight. What do you take from that fight?
Keep my damn hands up. Long story short.
Did you enjoy fighting in Bellator?
Honestly, no. I actually did not like that promotion at all.
So you're just looking forward to getting a fresh start now and working your way up the XFC ladder?
Yes, I'm actually getting a fresh start and trying to work my way up.
So looking over your history a little bit, what made you want to get into mixed martial arts?
Well, I was supposed to play football in college, but my grades were bad and I also blew up my knee. So people basically just stopped talking to me. Years later, I basically saw how fat I was, and I said, I'm gonna do something else. And I started doing this, and I just kept going ever since. And that was probably around late 2007, maybe early 2008.
And did you have any background in any other martial arts, or did you come straight into MMA?
I was a wrestler in high school.
And what level did you wrestle at what level did you reach within wrestling?
I wrestled in Ohio. I made my way to districts and I tore my ACL.
And now with your fighting style, do you like to use the wrestling to keep the fight standing, or do you like to get the takedown and finish your opponent on the ground?
I actually want to confuse him standing up. I want to confuse him standing up, and if I get to the ground, I get to the ground.
And what would you say
I like to play head games when I get in there.
Okay. What would you say your strengths are over his weaknesses?
His weaknesses?
What are your strengths over his weaknesses?
My strengths? My conditioning? My power? I'd probably say.
And if you had to predict an outcome for this fight, what prediction would you make for this fight?
Second round submission to strikes.
Brilliant. Well, we're certainly looking forward to the fight. Obviously, I know it's coming up it's a few months away. How's training going for the fight? Is everything going to plan?
It's going pretty well. I'm actually on weight right now, and I'm ready to go.
And what is it? About six weeks out? Is that right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we wish you all the luck with the fight. But before we let you go, do you want to just give you a chance to do any shout-outs? Do you want to shout out any friends, family, sponsors, and let people know about your Facebook and Twitter?
Rest in peace, Slaughterhouse Smith. I love you, and hopefully I see you sometime soon. Other than that, a good team vision. I say non-stop. I'll keep it action-packed. Dom P. Steele.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Dom.
All right, no problem.
Cheers then, bye.
Have a good one.
And you, bye. We are now joined by Danillo Villefort. Danillo has got a fight coming up soon at World Series of Fighting 2, and he'll be facing another UFC veteran, Kris McCray. How's things with you, Danillo?
Hey guys, what's up, man? Everything is been doing really good. The training is almost done. Just tuning out for everything. So I'm excited. Year and a half to start fighting, so I can't wait to jump in that cage.
You say about your training's nearly done. How has your training camp been?
I wanna get back to my old style. I'm not going to be very much, conservative on the fight. I'm going to be really aggressive. That's what I'm playing. Let's see how everything goes on and step in the cage.
Are you excited to be fighting for World Series of Fighting as well? Because that's obviously quite a new promotion, and this is your debut for World Series of Fighting.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's a new promotion, but they have a big support. They have NBC, which is one of the, largest, TV networks here in the U.S. And, I'm excited. They'll be in a big stage, and hopefully in my next fight, I'll be in the main card.
Yeah, I mean, their last event was very good, and they've got some really big names on this card as well, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm excited to see Anthony Johnson versus Orlovas. That will be a very interesting fight.
Yeah, there's some great fighters on the card. So, obviously, overlooking a little bit, going back a little bit, you've obviously been fighting for a long time. You started fighting in 2005 in Brazil. What made you want to start fighting in mixed martial arts?
What made me start to fight?
Yeah, what made you want to do mixed martial arts?
My father, he was one of the, the first fighters in Brazil. He used to fight, since the 1950s. He had more than 200 fights. So he's a legend in Brazil, and we always, we grew up, listening to his stories, and people come and talking to us. Hey man, your father, he's a man, he's a hero here. And, I'm very proud of him. So that's why, got me interested in the sport. And, I think it's not right because all my brothers, we all fight.
And obviously, you started fighting in 2005. How much have you seen the sport change from 2005 to present day?
Changed completely, when I first started to fight, it was in a Minotauro fight in Bahia, in a small show. And that was basically a Vale Tudo fight, not MMA. That was soccer kicks and everything. But now it's been changing, the level of the fighters is being, growing so much. Now we're not fighters no more. We are, we are athletes. We are MMA athletes right now. And you have to, brought the sport to, to the next level. So, we own everything, not everything. We own a lot for UFC.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Obviously, fighting in the early days of Brazil, and you talk about the Vale Tudo, how hard was it to adapt from fighting in Brazil to fighting then in the US under the unified MMA rules?
It's the same thing, just, a couple of different rules. So it's basically the same thing. Brazil, fighting Brazil, I like to fight in Brazil. The crowds go crazy. It's very interesting. I like a lot. But I'm also, appreciate everything in the US, the organization, which we don't really have in Brazil. But, besides that, both have, different flavors.
You fought in quite a lot of the promotions, and you fought in most of the big promotions. Have you got which has been your favourite promotion to fight for?
I didn't understand.
Yeah, you fought in quite a lot of the big promotions in the US. Excluding the promotion that you're in now, which has been your favourite promotion to fight for?
I didn't understand, bro. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll ask you another question. You've obviously got quite a lot of big names on your record. Have you got any favourite victories?
Favorite picture?
Yeah.
I do have my Facebook profile picture. That's my favorite one. That's what you asked me?
Yeah. Which fight was your favourite fight?
My favorite fight was, I think, was Joe Villefort. I didn't finish the fight, but I took the fight like a week, with a week notice. He was a big name, really tough guy. And I beat him. Everyone thought that I was going to lose, but, I ended up, beating him up. And, for me, that was one of the most important fights that I had.
Now, I know Patrick's eager to jump in. Are you good to go, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm ready to go, Ray. And Danilo, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for coming to talk with us today.
No, I appreciate it.
So, like Ray said, you fought for a lot of big promotions, Jungle Fights, WEC, UFC. how excited are you to be joining the World Series of Fighting on just their second show?
I'm excited. You know, there's a new house for me, and I hope to be fighting for them for a long time. You know, they have a huge, you know, talent. You know, they've been signing a lot of good, you know, new guys. And I'm excited. I hope they keep bringing new names and tougher, you know, tougher opponents, so we keep, you know, bringing the sport to the highest level.
Absolutely. World Series of Fighting has been signing a lot of good guys. And you're going to be fighting Kris McCray, and that's going to be at 185 pounds. Is that where you're looking to fight in the future, or do you ever want to move back to 170 pounds?
No, fuck that, man. 170, I almost like to make 170. I don't like that.
All right, so we'll see you at 185, and your fight with Matt Horowitz, that was pretty much just a clinic. You beat him up with a lot of good strikes. You took him down with the hip tosses. You really out-grappled him. Is that what you're looking to do to Kris McCray?
Dude, you know, yeah, Matt Harsh is a very tough guy. He took a beat like a man, and I respect that guy a lot, man. You know, he never been on top, and I thought I was gonna be the first one. I do what I could, but I couldn't knock him out. But you know, now Kris McCray, I've been watching fights. He's a rider. He likes to push the fight. You know, I'll do my best to knock him out. I'm not gonna. I really don't like to fight for 3 rounds. I don't get paid for a round. I get paid, you know, for the fight. So I'll do my best to finish this fight as best I can. Even if we go to the ground, if we strike, whatever, I'll go forward to finish the fight. You know, that's what the fans like to see. That's what I like to do. So, you know, let's get it done.
Awesome. Well, we're definitely looking forward to it. Now, I'd seen a video of you working out with Mike Van Arsdale. It was for mensfitness.com. It looked like a really intense workout. What was that experience like making the video?
Mike is a very good wrestling coach, man. You know, we learn a lot from him. You know, he doesn't work with us no more. He had to go back to New Mexico or to Arizona, I think. You know, but, you know, we learn a lot from him. He's very experienced and a very cool guy. And I only have good things to say about him.
Excellent. Yeah, Mike, he's definitely a great wrestler and excellent fighter. And now we know that you come from a family of fighters, a long background of fighting. It's basically in your blood. But what are some of your hobbies outside of fighting?
Dude, I like to hang out with my wife, go to the beach, you know. I don't have, you know, much. I don't do much crazy things. I like to go to the beach, you know, have a sun, you know, have a beer and hang out. That's it. I don't have, you know, much, you know, I don't know. That's it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it was great having you on, Danilo. We're really looking forward to seeing you fight for World Series of Fighting. And please go ahead and feel free to let the people know how they can follow you on Twitter and Facebook, and feel free to shout out any sponsors.
I want to say thank you for Jocko Clothing, S3 Nutrition, Iron Bridge Tools, ASM, you know, Black Millions, you know, my team that I love, you know, say thank you for everyone. You know, follow me on Twitter, is Indio MMA, and, you know, that's it. You know, feel free to talk to me. I'll do my best to talk to all the fans. So, you know, let's keep in touch, guys.
Thank you very much
You got
for on the show today. We really appreciate your time, and we wish you all the luck for your next fight.
My pleasure, man. You know, let's keep in touch. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No problem. Speak to you again soon.
All right.
Thanks, Danilo.
My pleasure, man. Bye.
Bye. Okay, we are now joined by Mike King. Mike King is currently 5-0. He trains at the American Top Team, and I think it's fair to say big things are expected of Mike. He's had 5 wins with 5 stoppages. First of all, Mike, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
And how are things with you at the moment?
I'm doing well. I'm actually in Denver right now. Nate Marquardt fights Jake Ellenberger up here on the upcoming 158, and I'm in his camp. We're
getting ready to spar for the last time tomorrow, and then he'll be cruising to the finish line at that point.
Yeah, I did see a tweet go out actually from Nate, and I saw your name included in there. So I was going to talk to you a little bit about that. But before I speak to you about helping Nate prepare for his fight, I'd just like to talk to you a little bit about you and your background and what got you into mixed martial arts. So obviously I know you're 5-0. What's your semi-pro record or your amateur record?
Excuse me?
What's your amateur record?
Oh, my amateur record was 7-1.
Okay, so you're 7-1. So what made you want to get into mixed martial arts?
I had a football coach in college. I had started wrestling when I was 4, and he knew this because he was from the area I was from. And after I was done, well, actually my junior year, he got me into boxing, so I started training boxing for 2 years before I graduated. And then we took my first amateur fight following my graduation. So I guess I can kind of attribute me even getting into the sport to one of my coaches in college.
And how long was you doing amateur fighting before you stepped up to pro?
Let's see here. It was probably I think it was 2008 to 2000, like the 11 areas, about 3 years.
And what made you want to go pro?
My girlfriend right now, we've been together for about 3 years, and she's been here since the beginning of my career, and she was kind of the driving force. Without her support, it'd be difficult to be traveling around as much as I do without her blessing. So she makes it easy on me, and it was a way for me to make money, and I was sick of working the corporate job that I was working after I graduated, and it was just a general push or a general need for change at that point.
Now, obviously, like I say, you're 5-0 with 5 stoppages. You've got 4 stoppages by submission, but it's a little bit misleading because obviously 2 of them are submission to strikes, and then of course you've got a TKO. How would you describe your fighting style?
Well, so with my wrestling background, I started at a very young age. It's kind of like a ground and pound. I don't really like you see a lot of times now people taking people down and just kind of laying on top of them. But I'm more of I like to strike from the ground.
And obviously, we can see that you're a finisher. You like to get in there and get the finish and get out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, the fans want to see finishes. They don't want to see boring decisions. So you get in there, and I mean, the better martial artist is going to prevail, even when they get in the exchanges. So as long as you're training your techniques properly and listening to your coaches, you're going to go in there and have a good game plan and typically have a good chance at winning.
Now, you listed obviously as being a middleweight. Have all your fights at pro been at middleweight?
No, my actually this past fight was my first fight at middleweight. I started coming out of college. I was about 240 pounds, so I had some weight to cut. So I actually took my first 3 fights were at 205, and then I fought at catchweight 195 before fighting this last fight at 185.
Now, have you finished with your weight, or are you looking to stay at 185, or are you looking to cut more?
No, yeah, 185 is my home. I'm just right at 6'3", so I'm a pretty big middleweight.
Now, obviously, I've touched on it already. You train at American Top Team. Can you tell me how it came about that you trained there, and what's it like training with such an awesome camp?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of the best camps in the country. I knew that after my first couple fights that I needed to start training with higher level guys. Coming from a wrestling background, you're always training with older guys that are typically physically more dominant than yourself. So I mean, if you're winning in practice all the time, it's time to change it up. So that's why I made my move over to Coconut Creek, because I knew that it was going to be some of the top fighters in the world there on a daily basis, not only to learn the martial arts techniques from, but to learn the business of mixed martial arts as well, because you gotta look at it, or you gotta attack it from 2 fronts. You got people like Nate Diaz that just like to fight and they don't want to do all the media stuff, but that's part of building a fan base and branding yourself for longevity. Almost setting up a sustainable business model. As
being at the American Top Team, has it opened your eyes to a different kind of side to MMA, i.e. with the standard of the training and also, like you say, with the business model?
Oh yeah. That's the greatest part about it is you've got some veterans there, like, you know, some of the pioneers in the sport. I mean, like Mike Brown. You've got Cole Miller. I mean, these guys have been in the UFC and WEC champions, and they've been in the sport for, you know, almost 10 years. So it's nice to be able to lean on them and to pick their brains when it comes to both sides, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before I do want to speak to you a little bit about helping Nate, because obviously it is a big fight coming up shortly. I just want to ask you a little bit about your fight so far. Like I say, you're 5-0 on your pro. What have you got a favourite victory, or have you got a moment that stands out for you so far?
Yeah, actually, it was not this past fight, but the fight before that. I fought in Massachusetts, and that was kind of my first fight under the American Top Team banner. And I actually had the pleasure, Coach Ricardo Loborio, you know, the founder or co-founder of American Top Team, was actually coaching us that evening. So to be able to get a win under the American Top Team banner and to kind of showcase my skills in front of Ricardo was, you know, probably one of the, I'd say, like, the biggest stepping stones in my career so far. And then following that, you know, I got this opportunity to come out here and work with Nate, and it's, you know, it's progress, and it keeps you moving forward when you see yourself taking steps up the ladder, you know.
I know your last fight was listed as being in January, which obviously was, you know, 2 months away. Have you got another fight lined up?
Yeah, we're right now tentatively I'm fighting April 20th. They're looking for an opponent. I signed a 5-year or a 5-fight deal with one of the biggest promotion or regional promotions in South Florida called CFA, which is the Championship Fighting Alliance. And I got walking papers for Zupa, but I have my, you know, over the next 15 months, I have fights every 3 months for the CFA. Just waiting to get here for an opponent so I can kind of critique my camp and, you know, start focusing more on just the opponent rather than, you know, training techniques every day.
Is that one of the biggest differences as well about being somewhere like America's Top Team, is you maybe game plan more than what you would have done at your camp where you were previously?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, like I said, they have more experience in the game, and they're able to kind of game plan a little better because, I mean, you've got certain styles in MMA. There's, you know, they're pretty comparable. Either you got a wrestling base or you got a stand-up base, and it's just ways to game plan around those types of fights. And when you got that kind of experience in your corner, it makes it real easy, you know.
Now I know Patrick's eager to jump in, but before I do let Patrick jump in, I do want to ask you about Nate Marquardt. Obviously, he has got a big fight coming up against Jake Ellenberger, and I know he sent a tweet out thanking all the people that have helped him, and you were included in that tweet. So what's it been like helping him prepare for such a high-level fight, and you know, what have you been doing to help him get ready?
Yeah, actually, you know, everybody knows Jake Ellenberger's got a great background in wrestling. So Nate flew a bunch of us out. Derek Brunson was out here. You know, he's a 2 or 3 time All-American at Division II level in wrestling in college. And then he also flew out Ben Charrington, the coach out at UNC, and 3 or 4 other first Division I All-Americans to wrestle with him. So you might actually see Nate out-wrestle Jake in this fight. And if that happens, Jake's going to be in trouble on his feet.
I must admit, I am a big fan of Nate Marquardt. I have been a big fan for a long time, and I think he's very, very underrated. And I can't wait to see him get back in the octagon. I think it was a shame when he left before, so I can't wait to see him back in there again and hopefully pick up a victory.
Yeah, me too. I think you know, him being at 170 pounds now is a huge benefit for him because, you know, one of his main attributes was speed and athleticism, and now he's even faster than he was before. It's he's a quick man. When you get in front of him and you guys are sparring, he's fast. You know, he's definitely top 10, 15 in the world right now.
Well, 2 of the top guys in the welterweight division, he's already beaten. If I'm right, he's beat them in under a minute because, of course, he knocked out Damian Maia and Martin Campbell, and they're 2 of the top guys in the world, and he beat them both quite easily at 185. So it shows you what he's capable of.
Oh yeah, it's going to be nice to see him get back in the octagon for sure.
Are you good to go, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm ready to go, Ray. And Mike, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, man. I enjoy this kind of stuff.
Well, you and Ray talked a little bit about your wrestling background. Do you find anything from those days that carries over into your MMA training and career?
The mental aspect of wrestling, it's probably one of the most grueling practices to get through. And I hadn't found the sport like that until MMA, because it's a grinder sport. I mean, you hear people saying that, talking about like overtraining and stuff. Well, you overtrain daily in mixed martial arts. When you have a 2-hour practice, I mean, it's hard on your body. So if you're not feeling yourself right, it's really going to mess up your training, which is definitely how I feel,
For sure. Now, you just recently beat Billy Garris in January. That moved you to 5-0. It was your 185 debut, like you mentioned. You showed really good striking with your hands. Busted out some good flying knees. What's next for you with the CFA? I mean, is it hard for you to find opponents at this point in your career?
Yeah. This upcoming fight's probably been the hardest. They've offered 3 different guys fights, and they've all turned them down. It's just been, I don't know what's going to happen, I might just have to kind of sit back. Yeah, you're right. It is hard to find opponents right now. I was trying to think of a different way to say it, but there really isn't.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what we've seen so far, I mean, with your 7-1 amateur record and 5-0 pro and being 6'3" at 185, that's got a little intimidating for some of the other guys in the division, especially being it so early in your career. Do you have a favorite walkout song or anything like that? Any pre-fight rituals?
No, not really. It's just a typical warm-up. I'll do some grappling stuff. I'll do some pad work. I don't really, no. I kind of most of the time I let the promotion pick my song. Maybe that's something I should do, but I kind of look at it as it's just another sporting event for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I've seen a video online actually where you busted out this really huge, it was like a 513-pound squat. I mean, that's nearly 3 times your fighting weight.
Yeah.
Does that strength, is that just a product from hitting the weighting room? Or for sure. Well,
yeah,
it's been great having you on, Mike. We'd like to give you a chance.
Yeah,
to,
it was fun, dude. I really
know,
appreciate it.
and, yeah, thanks for coming on. Please let the fans know how they can follow you on Facebook or Twitter, and if you have any sponsors, feel free to give them a shout out.
Yeah, you can follow me at MikeTheMan.com on Twitter. I also have Instagram at Michael Ryan King. I have a website, which is www.MikeKingMMA, and everything's linked up on my website. So get on there, join as a member, and that way we can interact. I can interact with fans. I'd like to thank Titan Tech and Foragers Fuel, and also Herbalife. Those are my 3 main sponsors, and they keep me rolling, man.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much for coming on, Mike. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to seeing what's next.
All right, thanks, buddy. Had a good time.
We'll post a link to your site on our site as well, Mike, so people can come and find you via our site.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Cool, thank you. Thank you very much for your time, mate.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. Bye.
Cool, bye. Okay, we're now joined by MMA veteran Tara LaRosa. First of all, I just want to say a big thank you for joining us today, Tara.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Brilliant. So, obviously, you've been fighting in MMA for a long, long time. I mean, it's fair to say when you started fighting professionally that MMA was nowhere near as established as what it is now. You started fighting professionally in 2002. What made you want to get into this sport, which at the time seemed to have no future?
Yeah, it was called NHB back then, No Holds Barred. Like, we hadn't really fully adopted the name MMA yet. But no, I'd always been interested in martial arts. I'd always wanted to take karate or something, like, when I was a kid, but my parents would never let me. They always were afraid that I was going to get hurt or I was going to end up hurting somebody else. But finally, once I went away to college, I got, involved in the judo club at my college, and I loved it, and I did really well at it. So judo, after several years, led to, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai kickboxing and MMA. And here I am.
Was there anything that you watched, say, obviously you say NHB, of course, no hard bars. Did you see a particular fight or fighter that made you think, I want to do that?
Actually, I was a really, really big fan of martial arts movies when I was a kid. Like, I loved Chuck Norris and Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme. I was like a huge, huge fan. And so that's why I wanted to get into martial arts so bad. But eventually then, like, the UFC came out, and Royce Gracie and Ken Shamrock, and I was, like, totally enthralled with Ken Shamrock and the Lion's Den and all the guys that came out of that gym. I was like, oh, my God, these guys are so good. Holy cow. Back then in the day. So that was, like, my inspiration. And, like, we used to play around after judo at my college, and we used to, like fight, like, on the mats, afterwards and stuff. Just playing around. And so it was fun. So and I used to do, like, tough woman tournaments in college for money. So it's kind of like amateur boxing, but it basically is amateur boxing, but it's not sanctioned the same way. And you just get paid if you win a tournament. So.
You talked there about the Lion's Den. It's interesting because I think at one stage, especially in the early days, the Lion's Den was the gym, wasn't it? That's where all the best fighters were coming out of. Did you get to train with any of these people as you were starting out? Any of these names that you've mentioned?
Actually, no. Yeah, the Lion's Den was kind of like one of the first big gyms. It was the first, like, well-known team where a lot of the guys came out of one place. And then, of course, as the sport progressed, you had, like, Militich and AMC and, AKA and now Jackson's and the American Top Team and lots of other ones like that. I never got to train with anybody from the Lion's Den, but I did get to train with Royce Gracie. And that's who I have my jiu-jitsu rank under, is Royce and Royler Gracie. So, yeah, I did get to meet him, and Royce is awesome. He's super cool. And everybody's, like, really, really cool and down to earth. So.
I was going to say, what was it like training with Royce? Obviously, Royce is probably one of the instigators of the sport. I mean, he's one of the people that went out there and put it on the line early on, really, especially in the early UFC days. And he had a lot to carry on his shoulders, really, carrying the name Gracie, more so from his own family, I think, because not a lot of people knew who they were. What was it like training with Royce?
Oh, it was awesome. He always told me that I used too much muscle, too much power. So he used to get on me about that. And he's really funny. He's, like, always cracking jokes. He's really sarcastic, which I think is really funny. So it was always a good time. Like, he's a really nice guy. Royler was also really nice. They're just, like, normal people. They're, like, regular people. They just have really awesome skills.
I think that must have been such an amazing experience. I mean, obviously, Royce was an early standout. I mean, Royler fought in Pride Fighting Championship as well, so he was one of the early standouts for the Gracies as well. I mean, let's talk a little bit about your fights. You've got a hell of a resume. You've fought lots of fights. You've fought some big names, and some of the names on your resume are now recently just been signed to the UFC as well. And not only have you fought them, but you've beat them as well. What are some of your personal highlights from your career so far?
I've had some really great fights. I've fought some really awesome people, and they're actually all my friends now, you know? Either we were friends before the fight and we fought as friends, or we became friends afterwards. It's really been an awesome career. It's been an incredible 11 years. I think some of my favorite fights, like my best fight was Amanda Buckner, because at the time, I always thought that she was the best, or one of the best, because she was very, very all-around, had very good skills all around, like in jiu-jitsu and kickboxing and wrestling and everything. So when I won, I really couldn't believe it, because I never expected to beat her. Shayna Baszler, that was fun. We're really good friends now, and we fought down in Costa Rica, which was a great time. That was just, there was like this entire resort, like down in Costa Rica, that Bodog, the show that we had fought for, had rented out for like all of the fighters, and they filmed all these fights over like 3 days. We were there for like 2 weeks filming like a TV show around it and everything, and that was like a whole lot of fun. And probably my favorite fights to date were with one of my good friends, Roxanne Modafferi. And I won the first one, and she won the second one. So someday we're going to have to fight again. But she's a really good friend. We had some really good laughs over the years and during the fight. So that's probably my favorite moment, was during the fight with her.
Obviously, you mentioned some of the names there, and it is like your resume is like a who's who. Is there anyone that's not on your resume that you would like to have faced, or you'd still like to face?
Yeah, there's a couple of people. You guys have really, really awesome fighter over there named Rosie Sexton, who I would love to fight before I retire. She's a really awesome person and a really great fighter, and we're friends, and we've known each other through the sport for years. I think that would be a good time. Who else? Oh my gosh, there's lots of people, I guess. I'm not done. I still have several more years to fight, so hopefully everybody else sticks around, you know. Who else? I guess Ashley Daly, Soila Frausto, who else is at 125? Of course, Roxanne. I gotta fight Roxanne again. That's just fun. Sheila Gaff, she recently got signed by the UFC at 135, so I don't know if she will ever fight at 125 again. So that would be interesting. You know, she rose up the ranks, you know, and was ranked really highly. So yeah, you know, whoever, everybody, anybody.
I know Patrick's eager to jump in, but before I'll pass you over to Patrick, I do just want to ask you, what's it been like as well, obviously, because looking at when you first started fighting for women's MMA, you look at what women's MMA has become, what's it been like watching the journey as women's MMA is now coming to the forefront, and people are starting to give women the respect that they deserve for their fighting skills? What's it been like watching that evolve?
It's like, how can I explain it? It's like having an asthma attack and then getting your inhaler and feeling that relief. You know, when your lungs start to open up and expand and you can take air in again. That's kind of a weird analogy, I guess. But it was so difficult 10 years ago when we first started, because nobody knew what it was, and everybody was like afraid of the sport, because the way it was marketed was, it's this dangerous blood sport where 2 people enter and only 1 person leaves, and, you know, all that rubbish. But over the years, as people started to see it more, and there were more and more shows on the local level, not just on TV, but, you know, here in the States, as more states would pick up sanctioning and have regional and local shows. It educated people through that because everybody started to know someone who trained or fought. Oh yeah, my friend or my girlfriend's brother or my, everybody kind of knows somebody now that trains and fights. And since it's gotten, well known on television throughout the world, it's become a lot more accepted, not just in the United States, but everywhere else in Europe and Africa and, of course, Japan and Asia and Brazil and South America. So it's just been fun, especially for the women, because now there are women coming out of all these countries, and they're good. It's not that they're just starting out. They're very good, so that's exciting to see as well.
Well, I know Patrick's eager to jump in. Are you good to go, Patrick?
Yeah, definitely. And Tara, thank you again so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Definitely. Now, you and Ray talked a lot about it. You're obviously one of the most decorated competitors in women's MMA. Your grappling accomplishments are extensive, and your MMA record is fantastic at 21-3. When can we hope to see you in the cage again?
I don't know. I'm just kind of just taking it easy and taking my time. After that last one, that was kind of rough. That last fight wasn't too good. So I took some time off. I took about 3 months off, and I went back home and hung out with my family and my mom and dad and my sister and her 2 kids. And then I moved down here to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I'm training at the world famous Jackson's MMA, which I love. It's so much fun here. And I'm really just kind of training and getting used to the atmosphere and getting used to all of my new teammates and just kind of getting back into it. I'm really falling back in love with the sport again. It's fun to train. It's just fun to go to the gym. It had gotten to a point, a couple years ago where it was not fun anymore, and I dreaded having to go to the gym every day, and it was like work. It was not fun. So I'm finding my new place, like my happiness, I guess. Sounds really corny, but yeah, it's fun. It's fun again, and so I'm having a good time, and I don't know. I might do the World Team Trials for the United States this year for FILA. That's coming up in April, so that'd be a grappling tournament. And if I make the team, then I guess I'll do the World Grappling Games, which it's in June. Yeah, but I probably won't fight again until maybe July.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe a few more months of, just hanging out and having a party on the mats with all my new teammates.
Well, that's very cool, and it's definitely exciting to hear that you're just now training with Jackson's MMA. Of course, everybody, they are world-renowned, like you said. I mean, Greg Jackson, known as a master game planner. Who are you training with down there?
Oh my God, there's so many girls here. This is like one of the first times I've ever been able to train with other women. And I'm not afraid to train someone. It's not like, oh my God, what's going to happen if I lose in sparring? There's no losing. It's we're training and we're having fun and we're like pushing each other and it's a good time. It's not like super competitive, in the gym, which is awesome. I'm training with Julie Cassidy, who is with the UFC, and Holly Holm, and Heather Clark, and Michelle Watterson, and Emily Kagan, and oh my gosh, and there's more. There's so many girls. It's so much fun. Jody Escobar, Michelle and Jody have fights coming up in Invicta. Michelle is fighting Jessica Tanay for the title, and Jody is fighting a girl named Alex Chambers. I believe is from Australia. And so, yeah, we're just kind of hanging out and getting them ready for their fights. And Holly, she just fought on Bellator and did very well. And she won. So it's awesome. And there's lots and lots of guys, too. And they're all my size. So that's even better.
Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely good to branch out and mix it up like that. So like you mentioned, Invicta Fighting Championships, of course, that's where you had your last fight. And they've got another big card coming up. With their success and the UFC adding a women's bantamweight division, what do you think the future holds for women's MMA?
I think as it's always been, it's going to go slow. They're going to develop the 135-pound division, and maybe once they've had several fights and kind of established kind of like a pecking order, so to say, perhaps then they'll open up another division. Invicta is doing a wonderful job of putting fights together from 105 pounds all the way up to 145. So we're seeing a lot of girls emerge, at all weights. And so perhaps, maybe, the UFC will pick up another weight class sometime. And that would be awesome if they did 125 pounds, hopefully before I retire.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And we know Jules, there's Jules out of Japan. They're another all-female mixed martial arts promotion. Definitely lots of great stuff going on. Would you ever move to bantamweight if the UFC didn't institute a 125-pound division?
I don't know.
I mean, you
sure.
were the Bodog bantamweight champion.
Yeah. It would take a lot of negotiations. I'm actually, to be perfectly honest, and I'll tell you the truth, I've gotten heavier as I've gotten older. Like, all of a sudden, it all caught up to me. I'm like, oh shit. So there's actually, I've thought about it, but to be honest, with all the girls that are at 135 now, they're huge and have a lot more muscle than I do. And I'm still kind of small, even though I'm a little bit chubbier. So I don't know. It would take a lot of things. I'd really have to talk to Greg, my coach, and see what our resources are for training and, how long it would take to get me, physically ready to compete at 135 pounds. So I don't know, maybe.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, it was fantastic having you on, Tara. We really appreciate your time. And we're definitely looking forward to seeing what's next for you. Please feel free to shout out any sponsors you have and let the fans know how they can get a hold of you on Facebook and Twitter.
Actually, Facebook, I'm having a little problem right now because my page is full. I have too many friends. So I'm trying to work around that problem. But if you want to check it out, I think it's Tara LaRosa. Yeah, it's Tara LaRosa on Facebook. And then on Twitter is also Tara LaRosa. Yeah, not very imaginative, but you can find me. I'm always on Twitter. That's the best way to catch up with me or follow me. And huge shout out to Jackson's MMA, and all my teammates, whom I absolutely adore, and Michelle and Jody, who have fights coming up. Good luck to you guys, and I want everybody who's listening to this to watch them on April 5th, and all the other awesome chicks that are on Invicta. And, even though I lost, a huge shout out to Invicta for putting me on last October, and for everything that they're doing now,
Well, that's brilliant.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on today. It's been a real pleasure having a chance to have a chat with you. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. And I love your accent. It's awesome.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll get another chance maybe to speak to you again in the future.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay, we are now joined by Soa The Hulk Palelei. Soa has just recently announced that he's been signed by the UFC. So first of all, I want to just say congratulations on being signed by the UFC.
Hey, thanks, buddy. Thanks, man. It's been a whirlwind the last couple of days, but it's been good.
I know you've been working very, very hard, and you've been turning a lot of heads recently. And I think people have been waiting for this to happen. So obviously, I'm sure you're just as excited as what all your fans are as well.
Yeah, it's it comes down to the fans and people like yourself that spread the word and I appreciate it. It's if it wasn't for the fans and stuff, it's I owe it to them and a lot of other fighters should owe it to the fans and people like you that have us on your show. So so it's I appreciate it and thank you for that.
No problem at all. What I'd like to do is just go a little bit into your background, really. Talk a little bit about you and let people know the other side to you as well. So first of all, let's talk about the start of your career. You started fighting professionally in 2002. What made you want to get into mixed martial arts?
I started boxing as a kid just to stay out of trouble, and then from there I went into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu into Greco freestyle wrestling, and then I fell in love with the whole MMA, UFC, and stuff with the first UFC with Royce Gracie.
So that's what got you into it.
Yeah, that's it's the very first UFC. I thought, man, I can do. I want to do this. So then I started training. In the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that was like 16 years ago. So now, after 16 years, I got my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So I'm first degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt now. So yeah, it's been a long road. I've travelled all over the world, to Hawaii and stayed with BJ Penn, trained with BJ Penn, and Japan, stayed at Yoshida's gym and helped him for his fight against when he fought Mandalay in Pride and. So I've been to a lot of places, Brazil and stuff, and it was my passion back then. This is when the whole MMA scene wasn't alive. It was just the public were just getting used to this whole the cage fighting back then is what it was called. Obviously now it's MMA, mixed martial arts. So I'm happy to be back in it, and showcase my skills.
It's funny you should mention that, actually, because obviously when you started fighting, it wasn't recognised as mixed martial arts. I wanted to ask you, what was the scene like in Australia? I mean, obviously you started fighting, like I say, in 2002. What was the NHB scene or no holds barred or MMA scene like in Australia?
It was classified as like an underground kind of brawl over in Australia when it first started. Obviously there was a few promotions over here that were, few guys that were trying to make it, promoters that were trying to make it a little bit better than, obviously have it in the cage and have it in the ring back then. And still a lot of people wasn't educated on the whole ground, when guys had ended up on the ground and people were booing and stuff like that because they just weren't educated. But now that there's so much stuff that's on TV, on Foxtel, and so many fights. So people now know and they are educated on when fights do go to the ground and know exactly, because a lot of people train in it now. There's so many gyms around that cater for mixed martial arts and a lot of people that do watch it, they kids and guys that just want to go in and go walk into a gym and become an MMA fighter, but or just train for their fitness of it. And it's crazy how massive it's gone. So
I know you've been on a long, hard road, and you've obviously worked very, very hard to to get where you are at now. And I know we're still to see. I'm pretty sure we're still to see some of your personal highlights. We still haven't seen the best of you. We know that's still to come. But with what you've done so far, what would you say are your personal highlights to date?
You know what? Just getting in there and whoever my opponent is, I respect all my opponent. A highlight was kind of beating Sean McCorkle. He's tough. He fought in UFC and he was about 6'8", I think, and he looked big and strong. And fighting him, and I thought to myself, how am I going to take this dude down? But the fight, I kind of took care of that pretty quickly and ended in the first round, 1 minute and something in the first round. So that was a good fight for me to get out of the way, because then I knew where my levels and that were at, and how far I could take this. So I can't wait to fight in June and showcase my skills, because the Hulk is back now. So the Hulk is back.
I know we're certainly looking forward to seeing it. Now, one of the things I did want to ask you about, and it's a little bit controversial, but you have got a fight on your resume versus Bob Sapp, and of course Bob Sapp is very much a controversial character within MMA. What are your thoughts on your fight with Bob Sapp, and what are your thoughts on Bob Sapp as a whole?
You know what? I got offered the fight. I get offered a fight and says, yeah, no problems. Bob Sapp was just another fight for me. I cut him up pretty bad. So in the fight, it ended pretty quickly as well. So he's just a big unit, a big guy, and I thought, man, I just don't want this guy to be laying on top of me, because I might be having some dramas. But when the fight happened, I hit him real good, cut him up, and the fight ended there. I understand a lot of people say it's controversy. The guys, some of these fights are controversy. You know what? A fight's a fight for me, and that was another fight, and I move on to the next one. And straight after that, I fought Sean McCorkle. So, and if this, if I didn't sign with the UFC, I would have kept pushing and kept fighting. So.
Now, obviously, you said, your line you said there was the Hulk was back. And I think it's worth referencing that you obviously fought in UFC before at UFC 79, and then you had quite a layoff after that fight. You were off for, about 18 months. What was the reason behind the layoff?
You know what? It was one of the worst fights of my life. Probably the worst fight in it's just one of them bad. It was just a bad fight. Whether it was premature, whether it was, there was a lot of things happening at that time before the fight. Where I did have to fly back, 4 weeks out for my preparation, and my kid was in hospital and stuff like that. And at that time, I didn't have much training in Australia. Then I had to fly back to Temecula, Team Quest. Probably a week and a half out. It was just, things were just, didn't gel at that time. But all excuses out to the side. I'm back, and that layoff, that 18-month layoff, it was one of them. I'm sure every fighter gets it when they lose. It's like, you just think, you revalue yourself and think, okay, do I quit or, and it took me 18 months. I've never watched the UFC 79 fight. It was just one of them. It's a big letdown to myself. So, kind of sat on the couch and started eating potato chips and ice cream and KFC probably for the next for 18 months. And then I thought, okay, I need to snap out of it. And so, but then I got back into it, and from there on, I haven't stopped. Obviously I fought Daniel Cormier, and I lost to Daniel Cormier. He's probably ranked number 3 in the world. And after that fight, I was back to the drawing board, and I thought to myself, I'm never losing again. But you know what? Daniel Cormier is, he's a tough opponent for anyone. You don't get become the captain of the American wrestling team, standing at the bus stop. So to be fighting that guy, he was tough, So, but 8 fights later, I'm at my position where I am now. So now I've just got to step in there and showcase my skills.
Well, I know Patrick's eager to jump in. Are you good to go, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm good to go, Ray. And Soa, thanks again for your time. We really appreciate it.
No, too easy, man. Too easy. Anything for you guys.
Great. Now, you had mentioned since the Daniel Cormier fight, you've been on just a crazy run. Since June 2011, you won your last 8 fights, all by TKO or knockout. Only one of those went past the second round. What has been the key since that fight?
It's just I took that fight on 2 weeks' notice. I was 17 kilos over, and so I had to drop 17 kilos in 2 weeks. I think I was pretty tired in that fight, but I still took care of business, and I've learned a lot through the last 8 fights. So I know how to where I'm at and where my conditioning and stuff is at. Ever since I did Southern, it's called Southern CrossFit. It's been the best thing I've ever done. These guys get me in the best shape of my life. Doing my CrossFit stuff, and I do Olympic lifts. And on top of that, I've got sparring. And, we've got a great team in Perth, Western Australia. So it's been good. Life is good at the moment.
Excellent. That's very good to hear. Now, since you've been so active since 2011, I mean, eight fights in a little over a year and a half. That's quite a bit. Are you glad to have a little downtime before your UFC return?
Yeah, you know what? UFC is the big, it's the big, picture at the, right now with MMA promotion. So, I'm really happy to be, to be with these guys, and I'm really thankful for Dana White and Joe Silva for adding me to their roster. Obviously, I've just got to prove myself now. So I'm here. I've been hustling for the last 3 years, with training, and if you're on my Twitter or if you're on my Facebook, I hustle every day. I know I haven't stopped. Every single fight, I've gone straight back into training and worked on everything, my stand up, my ground. I consider myself a complete fighter. So, I'm happy and I can't wait. And it's awesome. Can't wait just to step in there and showcase my skills.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Your last fight with Sean McCorkle, definitely, you looked amazing. Everybody, if they haven't seen that fight, I mean, this is why you're called the Hulk. You came in and, Sean McCorkle, 6'7", 6'8", you slammed him to the ground like he was nothing, finished him with some big ground and pound. Was there any added pressure going into that fight, be it from being on that long win streak or just the high profile of your opponent?
No, you know what? Sean McCorkle was a good guy. I spoke to him before the fight, and you know what? I respect all my opponents because they're obviously there for a reason. We're professional fighters. This is what we do as a job. We get paid to do it. And stepping in there and fighting Sean, he's and it was good for me because then I could see where I'm at, where my level's at. He had a good corner, Tom Erickson, a legend of the sport, and Tom was telling me after the fight that all they were doing is defending takedowns. They kind of knew that I was going to, do a takedown, or they knew I was going to throw a left hook, but still threw them and still got the takedown. But I wasn't planning on doing a takedown that early because he was just, he was really, really strong just to take down. And when it happened, and I took him down, and I went, oh, okay. It was on the ground. I was like, oh, damn, I got this guy down. All right, let's try to finish it now. And I was like, it was one of them. I was like, oh, okay. So when I think we ended up side position, and I was like, oh man, did I just take this guy down? was like, oh, okay. All right, now relax, and now try to finish it now. So it was, I was happy for the win. It was a quick win. And I think Sean was surprised himself that it happened so quick. And I mean, he did try to go for his Kimura, his key lock that he normally goes. He's got a good trademark with his Kimuras, and I knew exactly what he was going to do anyway. So I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so I know to defend that stuff. But it was, all respect to Sean, and here we are. We're stepping up into the next level.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, after that fight, it seemed like every major promotion was looking to sign you. Bellator, World Series of Fighting, One Fighting Championship. You had a lot of offers out there. Did you know that if you held out, the UFC would come calling?
UFC was always the dream, or was always the goal to get to. I fought in 2007 UFC, and trying to get back into the UFC just so I can show everyone that this is me now. This is 2007 wasn't. I'm back. I'm better, and I'm stronger and faster. So, and now that I'm back, it's I can't wait to get in there. But I did get a lot of offers from I was supposed to fight Andrei Arlovski at one stage on 1FC, and 1FC was a 1-fight contract, and then I think Dana White released some interview that Dana White did, and Dana White said if I beat Andrei Arlovski, we're definitely on the radar, UFC radar. Then 1FC hit me up and said, "Listen, you got to sign a 5-fight deal." And I went, "Oh man." So, but it was a decision I made a right decision. I didn't want to tie myself with any promotion. So yeah, then Bellator offered contracts from Bellator, and it was just I mean these guys are big promotion. So, but it was just I just couldn't, because I just had to get to the UFC, and I'm not getting any younger. I'm an old man now, so.
Well, your choice to sit it out and wait for that UFC contract and not get tied down definitely paid off. I mean, here you are, you're going to be taking on Stipe Miocic in June in UFC 161. So are you going to be looking to train anything specific in preparation for that bout?
I'll just get a lot of sparring, and Stipe's got some strong stand up and stuff. He's he looks like a strong fighter, and he's fit. I did an interview the other day, and they said that he's a firefighter, so that explains it as well. The guys are fit, so all they do is train all day. So I'll still stick to the game plan, which I can't tell you, but he looks strong, and I respect him. He looks like a good fighter, and but we'll see. He's not going to obviously hit harder than Mark Hunt, but we'll stick to the game plan and see what happens.
Well, I'll tell you what, we see you, Soa, and we really appreciate your time today. Don't want to take up too much of your time. But please feel free to shout out any sponsors you have, and let the fans know how they can follow you on Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter on Soa The Hulk. On Twitter, and I'm on Facebook as well. I just want to big thanks out to Mac Boots. These guys have been awesome. They've stuck by me and sponsored me. They're my major sponsor. Also, a big to Southern CrossFit, Brazilian excursion. Most importantly, and the fans. If they're listening to this, I really appreciate you guys. Supporting me and the love that you guys in the comments, because and I if you guys hit me up, I hit you guys straight up, and that's the most important thing that fighters should do. They should put a lot of time and effort into the fans and stuff, because you know what, if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be where they are today, or because it's the fans and people like like Ray and Patrick. You guys, man, you guys are putting us guys on the map. So I appreciate it, man. So, I mean, anytime you guys want me on your show, man, just hit me up, and as long as you guys pay for some food and stuff, or shout me if we catch up one day. Just some free food. That's all I'm asking.
I'm sure we can sort that out. We'd definitely love to get you back on again, and maybe after you win your next, your return in UFC fight, we'll get you back on. Before I let you go, there's one last thing I want to ask you, because I know you've got a huge fan base, which is amazing. But can you let your fans know? Can you tell them how you're going to win your next fight? What's your prediction for the fight?
Oh, you know what? It's one of them. It's a fight. Fight's a fight. It's it's a hurt game. So we'll see what happens. I'm hoping to. My strong bit. I've got strong stand up. So if I end up standing up or on the ground, I've got strong ground. So we'll either way. I can't really say anything because then I'll be giving away my secrets. But yeah, that's a good question there. But sorry.
Well, we'll see it first time. We can't wait to see you get that win that you've worked so hard for, and we'll definitely be an absolute pleasure to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thanks guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Patrick.
Well, I hope you enjoyed all those interviews. We had some really good guests. We're working on guests again for next week. We've got one definite, which is Bellator finalist Brett Cooper. He had a fantastic come from behind victory against Dan Kramer, so that'll be a good interview. And we've been in talks with Mike Rio, UFC Ultimate Fighter Live contestant, and he won his UFC debut against John Kofa. So hopefully we'll be able to get him on next week as well, but that's not definite. But we've definitely got Brett Cooper booked, and of course, as always, I'll be booking some more guests as well.